of course, is Starless and Heroic. You can watch both at the same time. That's why we have two eyes, or something like that. Complexity are going to be starting in from the looks of it on the T side. Anonymo, it's hard to say quickly, on the CT side. So I'm excited for this one. Oh, we're gonna have a restart. They're resetting it around. Fair play. I want to say Complexity as well, but I agree with that. The way that they were playing yesterday looked really not that inspiring on any level. So maybe the fact that they're back on Mirage could be an upgrade for them. That would be cool if they feel more at home there.
Yeah, I'm hoping that makes a good difference, actually, because I think when Complexity are at their best, it's generally on the looser maps, in my opinion. I think on Mirage, they have a lot of ability to just go for more fights a lot of the time. I think in general, they do oftentimes have these rounds where BlameF will maybe be lurking through mid, or maybe sometimes they will just go for full site takes. I just think there's a lot of options for them, and those options, I think they use really well on Mirage. So I'm hoping we get to see just that full playbook come through. I also really love some of Rush's entry paths on Mirage.
Yeah,
I think he does a really fantastic job at oftentimes going in first and just making sure that the CTs have to kind of worry about him, and he can basically draw the attention and oftentimes allow the rest of the squad to funnel into the site. So I'm definitely looking at Rush too. I just in general, I love Rush. I love what he does for this team.
Yeah, he's such a central player. I completely agree. And Config, I think, is also has had some pretty good maps in the past on this particular map. So I feel like, yeah, they have all the building blocks, but we said that yesterday and it wasn't quite true. So I think we'll just have to find out. We are going to head into it. I think they've solved the problems. Let's all hope so anyway. So let's just get this underway. It's going to be Complexity starting on the T side and Anonymo on the CT side. And they don't have a lot to work with here on the CT. It's just one smoke and a kit. That's it. Nothing special. No grenade setups to top mid or anything like that. Complexity setting up for what looks like a straight B hit. Here we go.
Poison lead in the way, but it's Config who gets the opening kill here on Mirage. Flashes into the B-bomb site, and Snacks has been blinded for quite a long time there. Poison able to run him down, and despite Anonymo having quite a few players here, they have been absolutely steamrolled on this B-bomb site.
What an entry, and, the smoke's doing exactly what they need to, just making sure that they can't be shot at from too many different angles all at once. It's now up to Key and Innocent to try and get back in here. It's a beautiful headshot from Key, but there's no way to roll that forward. He gets a shot, and he's dead in the very next millisecond. Innocent, 1 versus 3, and I don't think this is actually winnable, no matter what he does here. So, yeah, he's trying to find, anything, but the kit is all the way at the entrance to the market, so he's just not going to have enough time no matter what here. But it's a lot of damage. He's getting himself certainly some more cash in the pocket. That always helps. And BlameF, well, they're all going to go up with a bomb at the end. So explosive start here for Complexity.
Yeah, they'll be okay with that. I think Innocent will be fairly happy with it too. Just taking away those players with a Kevlar, getting a few kills, getting a bit of extra money. Because like you said, the round win was gone at that point. But Anonymo do decide they want to be force buying into this round. We've got a scout out from Key, Deegs on a couple of the other players. Innocent, with all that extra money, is still just buying up last second. But Complexity themselves have a pretty solid buy of their own, especially on the utility front. They've got pretty much full nades in this one.
Yeah, it's not looking too bad at all. Those Deagles and the Scout, you've really, really got to be careful. I feel like it's a constant talking point. I don't even know if it's necessarily a problem, but it's just, you just have to stay so sharp. And even if you do, we saw that yesterday. What was it? Faven who came up with some absolutely ridiculous shots. Sometimes it doesn't even seem to matter how much you are trying to avoid it. If someone is on point with that Deagle, you're probably going to be having a tricky time. So I like Complexity, though, really, really taking it slowly in this one. They're in middle and getting that mid control, but they're not trying to just run this down right away. And they're using a lot of smokes to try and block off those Deagles anyway. Nice nades on BlameF.
Yeah, really solid nade work. BlameF likes to work around that mid position a lot, so nice to see those preemptive nades coming in against him. But Kylo was alone on the B site itself, and that's an excellent shot from JKS. Just those 2 kills alone should confirm the round. And just nice work from Complexity to get that mid control, because it allows them to get up close to that B site so much quicker. There just wasn't time for Anonymo to respond there.
Yeah, it's again, just taking a little bit of time, getting those smokes off, and just making sure that you're not going to get into any kind of weird battles like that. I think it's in some sense, maybe it should be fundamental, but it could be harder than it seems. Sometimes people do just get into, like, aim battles versus deagles and scouts, and they regret it oftentimes. But yeah, this is a good start. Complexity. Everyone obviously died in the pistol round. That doesn't really matter. This round, they should be able to get out with everyone alive. So that's kind of great news. And Anonymo over on the other side, they're going to be saving the armor and the deagle, and I completely respect that. I think that's a fine choice. So it'll be another round before we get to see what the Polish side really have for us here on the CT side of Mirage. I'm interested to see how it's going to be playing out, particularly with Snack swapping. That could be fun to see.
Yeah, that's definitely a big talking point. How active do we see Snacks across the map? I think a lot of the top AWPers nowadays on Mirage are just getting really active all over the map. I think Cadian on Heroic is actually a good example of that, where you'll see him peeking into Palace, you'll see him peeking into the B apps. There's a lot of options to try and go for those opening picks. Not that we're getting a bit cheeky in this round, though. They've got quite a few players stacked here in this ladder room.
Well, some damage on the config already. That was Innocent, I think, showing up, but he's going to be hunted down. Oh, no! Poison! Not even checking. They were so tunnel visioned on the fact that a deagle had been fired at that first corner that they forgot all about that little ladder room. So now, I mean, they're not necessarily in trouble yet, but it does suck to give away the AK-47 to Snacks. That's not fun.
At least Complexity seemed to have the right read in the mid-round, which I think was sometimes a problem for them yesterday. There were quite a few rounds on Vertigo where they weren't maybe as decisive as they needed to be with these calls, but in this one, they're very quickly able to get back to A. There is a boost over the top. Snacks has been able to get away with another kill on that AK, but Blame F is close by and they're not ready for him. The MAC-10 mows down 2. That AK will be recovered, and he puts it to work. Lovely quad kill from Blame F.
Yeah, really well done. That's a good recovery. And, you know, for Complexity, who couldn't win, I mean, any close rounds at all yesterday, not that this was necessarily any kind of a clutch or anything, but just, I think just for them to feel like this is just business as usual, it's not going to be that kind of a weird scenario again. That's got to be important here. Just try and put yesterday all the way behind them and focus on what's in front of them here. But they're going to be up against that orb of Snacks. So that's a battle that we're going to be looking for here to see how that plays out. Smokes in the window and the connector to try and block off Snacks. He can maybe still see over it. You want to be real careful here.
Anonymo have a couple of players focused on mid. Snacks' AWP will be the first point of contact, and he gets the initial kill to go his way. There were rifles there to support him, but he didn't need them. He finds that clear line of sight, and now with that man advantage, Anonymo try and back away, but Snacks has been caught out, as has Innocent. Some excellent shots from Complexity, and they're right back in the advantage.
And they still have plenty of time. It would be amazing if they could find a smoke somewhere, but I mean, I guess the flashes and the Molotov will have to do at this point in time. And look at them slowing it down, calling a freeze all throughout the map. Just expecting that Anonymo at some point will have to make either a play for information or some sort of rotation or really anything at all. And they have the time for it. So I really think this is a good idea. This is the kind of leadership that, I don't know what's happening yesterday with Complexity, but normally you would expect out of someone like Blame F. He usually, I think, has a pretty good handle on this team. So it's good to see. A little bit of a flash, and now creeping in is Poison with the AWP over at the B hallways, hoping to find the right kill. And it looks like they're all going to be grouping up on the catwalk leading into B, and that actually looks like an amazing call right now, Hawker. They might have just called their way into winning this round.
Yeah, this is one of those spots where you're seeing this more and more nowadays. When a CT team goes down off the early trades, they are more willing to take a gamble stack like this, because if you get it right, you've got a really good chance at winning the round. And if you get it wrong, saving the 3 rifles isn't an awful decision. It could give you the ability to go for a force up into the next. So Anonymo take that risk.
Yeah.
But this time round, they didn't have the right read. So save call it is. And Complexity getting off to a really good start here on their map pick. And I think just having the comfort of this Mirage after that poor performance yesterday is going to be so nice for them. Getting these early round wins, just getting that confidence back.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think it's an important point that you raised. Obviously, the other side of the coin for Anonymo is saving the rifles. Like, that's super important. It's something that we lightly touched on yesterday for those CT sides, that even if it's not great news to go down 4-0 in the beginning of a match like this, but it's so much worse when you get wiped out on the economy side and you just can't do anything there. So I'm glad to see that I think it's a better choice probably than having 1B and 2A and then risking like that. If they had stayed in the B bomb site, would have been a 4-on-1 essentially. And I don't know what you expect at that point in time other than probably losing the rifle in most scenarios. So yeah, I think that's a reasonable choice right now. But yeah, Anonymo off to a bit of a tougher start this time, and Complexity, I mean, at least looking better. It's early days, so I don't want to read too much into it, but I'm liking what they're doing right now. And something that's always worth pointing out on Mirage, they're getting the mid control. I mean, part of that is because they've had better weapons and equipment and all the rest of it, but it's something to always just look for. How many rounds can they actually take mid and hang out in there, and how long before Anonymo start to challenge them? I guess we'll find out.
Anonymo took a timeout ahead of this round, maybe just to make sure they can get this buy together, but with 3 save guns, they can absolutely get those rifles in their hands. Yeah, we definitely could see a switch up from the CTs at some point. That is ballsy from JKS. He's gone up into the flames. He might have been heard there. The early utility continuing to come through from Anonymo as a bit of nade damage lands onto Poison, but they're at the ready for the push.
Okay, he's gonna get the 1 kill. Minio in a lot of trouble, and JKS will take him down. That is, I mean, he tried his best to relocate, just change his trajectory there, but didn't quite work out. So now it's another 4-on-3, and they're gonna try and see if they can smoke them up. Kyla actually ran through, I think, just as the smoke was being put down, so he's in a bit of a forward position and can maybe help out. Flash, though, will be a little bit of an issue, and Snacks, nice shot to take down Config. That's important. And they don't have that many more nades. They have 1 nade they can throw there. There's Kyla being put into play, and all of a sudden, it's back in the favor of Anonymo. And just by playing it carefully and patiently here, definitely a good look.
A bit more damage done through that smoke too. JKS down to below half health as he tries to make his move onto the site with the bomb. They can't cover off all these positions, though. They're exposed from CT, but the flash will buy time for JKS to get that bomb down. He may be stuck on the site for the post plant, though.
Yeah, surely BlameF is going to be checked one way or another. Look at how much noise he's making at JKS. He's trying to play this out in the open, but they check anyway. Innocent, a veteran player of the game, not going to let that one go. But I think JKS is actually intentionally trying to make himself, almost like a scarecrow or something, just, trying to make sure that they would assume that that fight was going to be happening on the bomb site and not anywhere near where BlameF was. So, nice attempt, but ultimately not quite good enough. And it's going to be Anonymo's first round on the board, and I think they handled that pretty well.
Yeah, I guess from JKS's perspective, you're kind of aware that being on that triple box position, being on the site, is just not a good spot to be in that post plant. So maybe it is just better to try and take a quick fight. Maybe if you get 1 kill, you can set Blame up for a really good chance in the clutch. Doesn't happen this time, though, and because of that, Complexity goes straight back to the mid control.
Yeah, at it again, and taking down Innocent. And, I mean, that battle is always really tricky, I think, if you're on the CT side, because it is pretty easy to see when someone's moving over there, and you don't need a lot of other information. So, Innocent down and out, and another round that starts, at least, with a man advantage for Complexity. That's been happening all along now, and Anonymo fought their way back in the last round, and now it's going to be even trickier. That was JKS, and that was all the way from the A Palace towards jungle, taking down Key. So, man, this is, again, it is really tricky. That last round was obviously good for Anonymo, but to do it over and over again, Hawker just seems like that's making things more difficult than they need to be.
Well, there is a rotation over to A, but Minio needed to get something going there from the site. Kyla's in CT, not an ideal position to be holding this bomb site from, and he's even been flashed away. So despite the rotation, it looks like Complexity should be fine to win the round. BlameF had that bomb, so he decides not to push into CT. He'll go back to the site, get that one planted. It's another round for Complexity. And yeah, you've got to wonder at some point, do we see something like a 3 mid stack from Anonymo early? Maybe some sort of aggression up mid to try and deny this, because so far, feels like Complexity have been exploiting that position.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. That's something that's, I mean, obviously it's better if you have some more, especially nades, to try and do that, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they've been holding off on that. But the problem of giving complexity to mid control is really starting to emerge now. You can feel it now that they actually know what to do once they have it, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of a solution will be found. So 5-1 in favor of the T side. Rush hasn't got any kills yet, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. He's just been hanging out, throwing grenades for his teammates and all the rest of it. Someone has to. Fair enough. And Anonymo, I don't know. Do you think, I mean, double AWP? Maybe this isn't the round you want to push middle, though.
Yeah, it might be just a round where they switch things up and see what those snipers can do. You know, you can always have that AWP just holding connector or holding even from CT and just watching for that mid aggression. So definitely options, and here is that mid control again for the complexity side. They've taken some damage for it. It's actually JKS who's gone low, and that nade yet again on point onto Blame F.
Yeah, but they are up in connector so quickly. This is really fast. I think if they actually just executed this right away, I think it'd be very, very hard to hold or even read for Anonymo. The bomb is dropped a little bit further back, so I'm not sure if they will exactly, but they actually had a good position here. Key in a little bit of a fight there with Config, who was up in the ladder room, and he's going to go down to Snacks. That's a very important kill. Rush gets dropped, and next, that's up in the apartments. That was Minio sneaking in. So both the ops are over the A side here, and I don't know, Key, yeah, he's going to be shooting Blame F in the back. I'm not sure Complexity will know until they watch the demo of this match how much of a cool position they were in, but it just got picked apart one at a time.
Yeah, pretty surprising to me that Anonymo had those two AWPers playing like so committed to the site there. They were playing it really aggressively with both snipers kind of on the site itself. It ends up working out really nicely for them, but if that was a fast A play maybe, it could have been a situation where Complexity were able to trade. It works for Anonymo though. It is the right adaptation this time round, but look at this switch up from Complexity. All their players over on the B side of the map early.
Yep, and they're going to be really fast, so there's not going to be backup in time. They almost have to try and do something to stop them before they need the rest of the team here. Snacks with a kill, but Poison, he's ready for that fight, and Kyler's going to fall next. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing that Snacks is able to get the first kill, but he can't do anything to help out Kyler afterwards. Then he's just fighting on his own, and Kyler is on his own, and Anonymo may need to make the same call they did last time and just try and walk away. Key, I think, wants to see if he can get them a ticket back into the round. If he got that kill, maybe that would have been possible, but man, I don't know. This is such a great start for Complexity, and it's clear that Anonymous don't quite know how to respond to this yet.
Nice to see Rush getting 2 kills on the board too. I think in a lot of the rounds so far, he's been defaulting over on those B-apps positions, and that's just not been an action area of the map so far, because it's been so mid-focused for Complexity. So this is the first round where we see a play onto B, and I think that B site especially is where Rush is at his best with the entrying. He plays there on CT too, so I think he's got a good understanding for that bomb site. And just in general, I was looking up the stats for Rush. On CT side, he actually has a 1.02 CT rating. So that's a really solid rating for the spots he plays. It's actually his T side rating that drags him down a bit. I think it was down at a 0.88 rating on T side. So I think that goes to show some of the tough spots Rush can get put in and how he's able to make the most of that at times.
Yeah, it's nice to have a player like that. They did smoke T-spawn. That didn't go unnoticed. I'm going to call it out. Someone screwed that up, but fair enough. Snacks, he's traded once again by Poison, who might be dead. I mean, he's a bullet away, or maybe a grenade instead, but somehow he gets out of there anyway. Hard to explain. Minio doing the best that he can. Blame F going to go down, and then Rush next in line. They weren't expecting for there to be 2 people that far up, so I mean, maybe with the mid aggression especially, you're not expecting for a 2-man B setup. They just weren't able to read it. So now, finally, Anonymo are fighting a man up for the minute here. 2 versus 3.
Well-placed molly might give them access to the bomb site. Oh, never mind. Minio lands the shot on the cross. It ends up being a wall bang. And now JKS may get the bomb down, but he's got a lot to do.
JKS, he's been a topic of a lot of conversation recently. No, he's good, but we haven't seen that much out of him yet on this lineup. Not enough at any rate. Deep nade there. They're coming for him. He's going to get the one, and he knew. He definitely heard the footsteps, so he did the best that he could to try and transfer that spray onto the second target, and it just wasn't really in time. They did have a kit on Kyla, but I guess they just sent Minio to do the diffusing instead, and they recover both the AWPs, so that's a good job. That's a nice round out of Anonymo, and I think it's nice to see them start to feel maybe a slight bit more comfortable here and put a bit of a break on Complexity, too.
Yeah, we've started having a much more even game. We're starting to see those rounds at the top of your screen being traded back and forth. That is starting to show on the Complexity economy. They were looking really good at the start of this game, but now that money has run dry. They even have to have a couple of Galils into this round. It looks like it's back to a set play for Complexity. Everyone on this A side of the map early, and only Minio here to defend it.
Oof. That's a very difficult job to try and hold on to. I mean, the best you could probably do is try and get a kill and stay alive for the retake. I mean, we have to remember, A is actually super... Well, I don't want to say easy, but it is a very retakeable bomb site compared to a lot of other sites on this in Counter-Strike in general. So you don't have to sacrifice yourself to try and get a lot of kills. And he falls back right away. I mean, he's also smoked off, but he didn't even want to try and, like, play on top of the smoke or anything like that. So it's a 5-on-5 retake coming in here for Anonymo. Flashbang in the face of Kyler, and he's down and out. Innocent to fall next, and this is not even going to be close to a retake. JKS with some excellent headshots, and Snacks, oh no. He was getting shot trying to escape. They were all coming for him, and he's finally going to be going down. What a round out of Complexity. That's great.
I think that round shows a big difference you have nowadays when trying to play those 5-on-5 retakes. I think the difference there on that A site is that Complexity realized that with 5 players that they maybe don't have 5 really good post-plant spots they can play, and they realize that Anonymo have loads of nades for that retake. So they're aware that they kind of have to get proactive, and they flash themselves into connector with the little utility they have left. I think like we're seeing that more and more nowadays, and you can see why. It was just so effective at denying Anonymo the chance to use those nades on the retake.
Oh, a bit of a hiccup in the middle. A Deagle and a C-set 75. It looks, I mean, Complexity had all the early kills in that round. Oh, and Kylo through the smoke. He finds Blamef. I don't even know how. They're still going to lose the round, but they made that very expensive. And that actually, that can really come back to make a difference here, especially if they can turn it around and win this upcoming round. But I think they need to do that, though. I think they're starting to fall far enough behind. I don't know. How do you feel about the balance here on Mirage these days, Hawker? You feel like it's still a CT-sided map, or is it pretty much 50-50?
It feels pretty balanced to me, I'd say. I think you just have a lot of options on the map in general. I think there's a lot of different play styles that can work. So I think it can be quite team dependent. And here comes one of those switch ups. Mid-aggression from Anonymo. They are able to get the trade, but here comes the B play.
Snacks, that is a nice shot. All right, he's not sleeping at all. I like this version of Snacks more than the one we saw yesterday. With this AWP, he looks really comfortable on this map right now. 13-7, make it 14, why not? He's going to find JKS, and again, on top of the fact that they got 3 kills in the last round with just pistols, and now they wipe out Complexity in that round, they're starting to build, and they also deny the bomb plant. That is so important. What a great little comeback late here in the first half.
Yeah, imagine if Complexity won that prior round earlier with 5 alive. Then they just have enough money on every player probably to buy here, right? Because you have that extra $3,000 or $4,000 across the board that you didn't have to reinvest on a couple of those players. But now this is a position where I guess they are going to go for the force buy, but it's going to be really limited here with a couple of players stuck on pistols.
Yeah, kind of tricky. Not that you can't make it work, but I wonder if you could have even made an argument, I don't know, that they should have tried to hold it back a little bit. I guess this is
their loss bonus is just so bad.
Yeah.
I think if they had a bigger loss bonus, they might.
That is a good point. Yeah, they probably at the 13th round, they feel like it's not going to build into anything anyway. So yeah, that's probably, you're right. That's probably the real consideration here. All right, 2 AKs, 1 on Rush, 1 on JKS, and they're making their way up in the hallways while the rest are down middle. Key, though, trying his best to shut this down. Hearing the Deagle, certainly realizing that it's just pistols. Are they going to be surprised by the AKs? They're coming out right now into that A bomb site. Rush going to get the 1 kill. Snacks is in a lot of trouble, and he's going to get found as well. Going down, Rush with a double kill. Bomb is being planted, and this is a pretty successful round so far for Complexity.
Big impact kills from Rush there, getting them onto the A site, getting them that bomb plant, and now they've got a chance to play the post plant, and JKS is making the most of it. He's already delivered the first headshot, and Poison comes in with the AWP. It's only Innocent remaining. He's looking for fights, and he's getting the chance to try and take some kills, but now Complexity realize they're in such a good spot. They don't need to give anything away. And this was a really big swing round for them. I think if they lose this, there's a decent chance they actually concede 7 rounds at the half. But now that they win it, they can really press on and have a fantastic first half scoreline. Yeah,
I completely agree. That is... And I mean, if you look at it from the other side, it's so heartbreaking for Anonymo because they had actually put in the hard work. They did all the economic damage in the round where they just had pistol. Then they won the follow-up round in a great fashion with Snacks getting all those AWP kills. It was all set up nicely, but this one little trick of getting the double AK and just exploding out the AAPs, that actually was enough. And now the hard work that Anonymo had put into those previous rounds, it's kind of wiped out. So it's good. Like, this is the kind of, let's say, killer instinct that Complexity showed exactly none of yesterday. So I guess I'm happy to see that.
Definitely a strong sign for them. It was unfortunate for Snacks that was one of the rounds where he committed to the A site with that AWP too. He committed to triple box. So as soon as the fast-paced play comes against him, he's really just trying to fight his way out of it and trying to get 1 or 2 kills on the hold. He's never really going to be able to survive from that position, which is a shame. Got some aggression from Minio into ramp, but the connector play onto A should just open up this round.
Yep, good fundamentals. A little bit of a flashbang to set up that kind of a peak. That's always helpful, and somehow also very often forgotten for no real reason. Innocent has that 1 M4 that they're going to be able to use in the next round. So they don't want to try and jeopardize that too badly unless they somehow felt they had a chance. No defuse kits either. Well, actually, there's one on Innocent, but again, he probably doesn't want to give that away. But otherwise, ninja diffuses are always fun. They can happen on this map. It's definitely been done before, but I don't think we're going to see one this time. So maybe some damage at the end here. So the 15th round, I don't know. We were talking earlier about, you mentioned this idea of like rushing up middle to try and get some damage, and they kind of sort of tried it, but not really, right? I mean, maybe that's something for the 15th round to think about again.
Yeah, I guess something you always have to be slightly worried about is if Complexity don't commit heavily to mid. They're probably going to have at least one player there who sees it and then maybe can call for the quick site take. But it can definitely be worthwhile. We see it often from a lot of teams where they don't even fully push top mid. Maybe they'll just sit towards that top mid position and almost wait for the Ts to swing into them. As long as they can dodge those flashes, it can be a good idea. But they've got the double AWP set up to work with too. So they could also just sit back and try and make the most of those AWPs, which have been pretty important for a lot of their round wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've taken down Rush already. This time it was Kyla, so we've seen what? We've seen both Minio and Kyla pick up the AWP. I'm wondering if it's just spawn-based or if they all just feel like they can probably do a good job. Either way, certainly getting that kill on Rush is great news. Oh, well then. Key waiting patiently, able to pick that one up. He really wants the AK-47, but that is dangerous. I'm kind of shocked that he's still around, actually. He's down to half health, so that's so scary.
Ooh, he ends up jumping away, but Blame F takes down his teammate. Thankfully, Innocent was also focused on mid, so they maintain a 4v2 advantage. Complexity will just try and make a move, but they're being shut out here. Poison tries to pull the pistol out, but Key swings him wide. It's 5 at the half for Anonymo, but a strong start for Complexity. We'll see if they can keep it up as we head into the second half.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at the B stream, and I'm with Hawker, watching Complexity and Anonymo. Best of 3, still the first map here, of course. And Hawker, you've got to be impressed with Complexity's performance in that first half. 10-5, that's pretty good.
Yeah, everything looked pretty solid for them. I think that the mid-round calls looked much better today than they were yesterday, which I think is a big deal for them here on Mirage. It certainly helped them come through. Now they get to play on that CT side. It's JKS who could be put under pressure early. He's alone over towards A.
Well, another test for JKS potentially. Good one-hit shot, but staying alive now is absolutely important. Yeah, look at how quickly he makes that choice as well. He knows if he falls, then that's a piece of real estate they're not going to get back, really. Minio goes down. Config, he's got such ridiculously crisp aim at times, and he's going to get a double kill for it. Key and Snacks, well, the bomb is down, and it's planted for them, so this is actually winnable, even if it's a 2-on-4 here. Blamef making it a lot less likely, and Snacks is on his own. At least not yet going to get shot at the back, but it is not going to be that far, and, well, Rush will do the job there, so... Nice round out of Complexity. That looked very good.
It just looked so composed from Complexity in this one, which you would kind of hope, considering they are that more experienced team. They looked very poised in that position. I think the thing I loved was that awareness you were talking about, that they could afford to just sit back, because it's not easy to play that post plant with the Glocks on the A site. You don't have great positions to watch that bomb from, so you can just sit back and know it's kind of likely that Anonymo might want to just take some ground and take some fights, and you could see them just set up, waiting for those players to push jungle. They get a couple of kills, and now they have to try and deal with the Hero AK buy. This is normally the CIS special, but the Poles have pulled it out.
It's very upsetting news, obviously, to Anonymo not being able to win that pistol round, because at 10-5, I mean, it's a recoverable scoreline, but it's so much worse if you suddenly have to fight your way back from even further behind. So hopefully this AK or the Deagles could do some work in this one, because if it goes all the way to 13-5 or something like that, that's starting to feel a lot less doable at that point in time. They do have a lot of mid-control here, so... maybe they could make something off it. Got the bomb in there. They have one smoke. So there's a flashbang setup. They haven't got any kills behind it yet. So not that it was for nothing, but maybe not what they wanted. Minio, he just finds Blamef. I can't believe he was in that position. Key going to get a kill. And now JKS, not quite on his own, but a little bit of a weird fight here. Rush is going to step it up in a big way with just the FAMAS and 3 kills for him. I think he just saved the round there.
Yeah, I guess I was saying earlier about how he is having a higher rating on that CT side for this team. Definitely came through there with a big hold on the B site. Yeah, if Anonymo were just a bit more close to connector, I think they probably quickly called to go back to mid and back to A there. But unfortunately, they had those players that were pretty far up towards B, so couldn't make the most of those kills on A. They run into B. And some big kills from Rush, who's definitely started to step up after a slow start for himself fragging-wise. But here comes the buy from Anonymo. They do have one player without the AK because Key forced up in the previous one, but everyone else with those rifles. And I'm sure that there'll be a scenario where Key might be able to recover an AK, right? If a teammate gets a trade kill or something, then maybe he'll just be able to pick one up.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many ways to think about that. You know, either, like you said, he could recover one, or he could just, you know, he could actually feel more free in being the more active player that goes around and looks for information, and you don't feel like there's a lot to lose. So, I mean, obviously, it is better to have five rifles from the start, but you don't have to treat it that way. Oh, Blamef trying to transfer that spray, but Minio is really quick, and it feels like Anonymo definitely were slower to start and maybe weren't quite awake and ready when we got started with this, but they're starting to gear up quite a bit. You can tell on the scoreboard, they're not that far behind in kills. They are actually playing a pretty decent game, even if they're really far behind in rounds. Poison, one good kill there, but Minio again, super crisp with the AK, taking him down, straight headshot in that A bomb side. Now, they might not know about JKS. This is an insane position to have. Oh, I think they saw. I think actually Key saw the barrel of the gun there. So now it's a 3-on-3.
They're going to hunt JKS down too. Key with the Deagle runs straight in, but in comes Rush from the backside. Bomb's been dropped. The Rush is trying to see if he can do more, but Snacks guns him down. It's a one-on-one, and Snacks comes through with the second headshot. So quick on that second kill, on that adjustment. The Anonymo scraped the round.
I have to be honest, that is as a classic config round. He gets the first kill. He's now in a one-on-one against Snacks, who's got 13 seconds to try and get onto the bomb site and plant the bomb. And Config's like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm just going to fight you on top of the box because I don't know what to say. You have to accept it. When you have Config on your team, you're going to get rounds like that. He's so unbelievably good, but, you know, part of that comes with the... you know, like just the I guess the decision making that sort of that follows along, and sometimes that can be lacking just a little bit. So, still, it's 12-6, and that's an incredibly important round for Anonymo, without a doubt.
Absolutely, and Complexity are in a position where they decide they are going to go for the buy, but they do look pretty weak because of it. And with a couple of MAC-10s even in play for Anonymo, they could have a really good ability to just run down some of these pistol players. JKS doesn't even have Kevlar this position. Poison has been given the luxury of that one rifle. I like the effort from JKS, but it won't be successful, and they're about to pounce on this A-bomb stuff.
Oh. Oh, it didn't look like it was going to backfire just shooting through the smoke, but somehow it did anyway. He didn't get the reload in and couldn't really adjust in time, so... You know what? I have a lot of sympathy for that kind of play from JKS. That's the sort of stuff I love doing, and you almost never make it work. You can't really justify it, but it still feels like maybe I could find that headshot in the smoke. Just maybe.
You always feel like it's worth a try, you know?
Yeah.
Imagine if you get 2 headshots through the smoke, then everyone's laughing.
It's like some kind of... I don't even know what kind of bias it is. It's like you remember the few times when it did work, and your brain erases all of the millions of times where none of those bullets went anywhere, you know? You just think like, yeah, but wasn't that one time back in 98 where I hit level 99 where I hit like a really good shot for the smoke? Well, well.
I think that's a classic case of confirmation bias right there.
I was gonna say confirmation bias, but I feel like it's the wrong thing. There's got to be something like a positivity fallacy. I don't know, like I don't know, some sort of fallacy that I just can't remember the name of. Anyway,
there are some fancy words we don't know.
Yeah, where are the philosophy? Well, Maui studied philosophy. He's on the A stream, of course, but this is the one area where he could finally put his degree to work. You know.
I mean, I studied geography, so you want to know about some rocks? I'm your man.
I actually think that's super interesting. You say that jokingly, but you have no idea how much I want to like build a mine or something. We can go really deep off topic on that.
I hate to disappoint you, Anders, but I actually focus more on human geography, which isn't even rocks. It's more like population and sort of stuff like that, development, all that sort of stuff.
I'm sure that's still really cool. I have a theory of life. Now that we've got some sort of a tech timeout anyway, we might as well just talk about this. I have like a theory. I just don't think there are any boring topics. It's just a question of like whether or not you can find the passionate people within those fields to talk about it. So I'm down for anything. I once had like a maybe half an hour long conversation with a guy who ran like a sewing machine shop. And I don't know anything about sewing or anything, but he was really passionate about it, and it turned out it was really interesting. So I just, you know, from then on out, I realized, you know what, maybe everything's just interesting if you just, you know, want to look for it. So I can appreciate that.
I think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually, because I feel like there are so many people who I talked to at university who the reason they were studying what they were studying was just because they had one teacher who was really good and actually passionate about the subject. So that is kind of just infectious at that point. I
think that's how it works, you know. Find those people, make friends with them. It's definitely worth it. Now, look at the scoreline here. We're back into it. Thank you to the admin team for clearing everything up nice and quickly. We appreciate it very much. It's 12-7. So, I mean, this is a much more redeemable scoreline. Oh, we do have problems again. I'm hearing typing. Maybe there are issues. The internet elves are like.
Oh, go on. I
was going to say the internet elves are fiddling with the wires, but
yeah. I was going to say, I think the nice and succinct way of saying what you were saying earlier is that there are no boring topics, only boring people. That might be a bit harsh.
I think that's true. I think that's true. You could always it could be very hard to get people to talk about why they like the things that they like. You know, especially if they feel like it is intrinsically boring or something like that. But I don't think I think it's generally there's always something interesting to look at. So yeah, we'll get. I think the server is just having a little bit of a hiccup or something like that. Hopefully, it'll be sorted right up and we can get back into it. But yeah, that 12-7 scoreline. I mean, I feel like at one point there was a possibility, at least, that it could have been like 13-5 in favor of complexity, and that the road back from then on out, if you're Anonymo, is just so long. But I feel like 12-7 is pretty doable. That could be recovered really quickly. So we could be in for a much more interesting Mirage than what it's been shaping up to. Yeah, I'm digging what we're seeing here from them.
Yeah, it's definitely still early in the half, but it felt like towards the end of the first half, Anonymo were kind of growing into the game too, right? We started to see some of those moments where we just saw a few individual plays. Snax was playing well, I think, throughout the whole half, but I think some of the other guys are joining him now on the Anonymo side, and it did maybe just take that adaptation period, right? When that double AWP setup came out, it did seem to make a difference. It's weird again, because you pointed out yesterday that sometimes I almost wonder, was it the double AWP setup that made the difference? Or was it just like the feeling that you changed something, that you're like, okay, now we're in a position where we've changed it and it's going to work? Because I don't remember the AWPs like dominating, right?
Yeah, like a kind of placebo for Counter-Strike, where it's like,
yeah,
it's not actually the thing that you think it is, but you know, it still does something. Yeah, that could be. I mean, that was really interesting to see, wasn't it? How much the game changed from there. And I can't even really say that it was all the scopes that made a difference. I'm not sure that if I went back and look at the demo, that is exactly obvious, but something definitely changed in the team at that point in time. So hopefully Anonymo can keep this up. I mean, they seem like they're really fresh at the moment, and Complexity haven't really got their feet on the ground in the second half yet. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we were talking a lot about whether or not Anonymo would try on their CT side to go for like some mid aggression, but obviously there are like 10 million other ways to get CT aggression in on Mirage. That's like one of the defining features of the map, in my opinion, and they didn't try that much of it at all anywhere. There's no apartments pushes, there's nothing at A ramp, nothing at B, not even like crazy underpass kind of like, you know, pushes or anything. It was just very plain. And I wonder if Complexity will show us something like that instead, if they will try and do that. That could be interesting. I think, by the way, we are switching on to a new server. Maybe the old one burned up, or I don't know, something happened. I don't know what servers do. So we'll get that on the way, but then we'll be right back. And I think in the meantime, how do you feel about Snax's AWPing at this point in time? I feel like it wasn't looking bad yesterday. I wouldn't say that, but I feel like it's looking better today somehow.
Yeah, I definitely get the feeling that he's trying to be one of those AWPers, I guess more in the ZywOo vein of things, where you try and just kind of pick the right spot and pick the right angles and make sure you're in the right places to have impact. Yeah. And sometimes that kind of AWPer, if you just get the wrong reads, you're going to have games that might be quieter. I think you kind of just fall into that sometimes if you can't play aggressively all the time. So it feels to me like Snax is trying to play more of that passive AWPing style. And yeah, today he's picked a couple of really good spots. I actually am thinking now, there definitely were a couple of rounds in that first half where the AWPs did make a big difference. Like there was that round where Snax was on B and he got that big multi-kill. There was that round on A where the AWPs just got all the kills between them. So maybe it was one of those situations where you just win those 1 or 2 rounds and kind of helps you snowball. Maybe that was just the difference they needed.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, maybe even if one of those rounds, if it just frees up some teammates to feel a little bit more confident, like, yeah, okay, we did it, like we got that, you know, that even small things like that can roll into something bigger. Just as an update on the meantime, I'm sure most of you guys are watching the other game in a separate tab as well. But if you're not, scoreline as far as I can tell is currently 10-7 in favor of Astralis at the moment. So still in the first map and everything else, but that could be really interesting to see how that goes out. I think, you know, that's obviously that's an epic matchup as well, with a lot on the line. So and later on today, in case you're not quite aware of it, obviously on this stream we do have FPX versus Sprout, and I actually think that is going to be the really interesting game between this and the other one. I feel like both those teams were so highly motivated that I kind of look forward to that one.
Yeah, I've liked FPX for a while. I want to see them continuing to do well and press on, but I'm getting to know this Sprout team now, and I'm getting the feeling that they're a similar sort of team that are trying to really do things the right way, which we always love to see. Also, just quickly, the Astralis Heroic game, that is Heroic's map pick too. So for Astralis to be leading, it's looking pretty good. I'm excited for that.
That is interesting, yeah. And I mean, you know, that there's so much on the line between just in terms of two Danish teams like that, and even like a legitimate question, which I know when Astralis were on top, there's a lot of joking whenever someone would like, you know, people be like, maybe North is actually the best team in Denmark whenever they would win, like, you know, something. And but this is like now it's like a serious question, you know, because Heroic have been so strong that, you know, it's worth finding out, I guess, and this is an interesting test at this point in time. So, yeah, I think the new server is almost up and running, and once it is, we'll obviously get right back into it. Hopefully not too much of a bump in the momentum, but I think, you know, still, even though it sucks a little bit, this is like the nature of online Counter-Strike, and changing servers is still going to be better than players having a worse experience, I think. So that's got to be like the primary thing, surely. I think in the meantime, before we get you know, too far into the weeds, we'll go for a quick break, and then when we get back, we've got the server back, we've got the players back, and we've got the show up and running. So just stay with us, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is back on track. We have a scoreline of 12-7 in favor of Complexity, and we found a server that is fitting for everyone. And we're going to go into the 20th round. It looks like it's going to be potentially a pretty fast one here in terms of the action over at the A-ramp, at least.
It could be fairly one-sided too, with only the one org in play. Blaymath has picked the right bomb site though. JKS actually doing work with the USP. Not necessarily what we were expecting, but that means Poison can pick up the org and give this round a real good go.
All right. I mean, a lot more resistance than maybe you would have expected given the weaponry that was in that A bomb site. So that is an interesting turn of events. Anonymo looking at the clock and saying, wait a minute, there's over a minute left. We can just walk around and see what we find. And I think that's generally a pretty good idea in these kind of scenarios. Complexity, if they realize they could maybe even afford to go pick up a rifle so that Config has something more to fight with. And at that point, it's a pretty straight up 2-on-2. Even if Poison doesn't have any armor, I mean, it's still an orc. So we'll see how daring they are. Yeah, there's the AK picked up. So, and they're back through middle. I actually thought they'd go through those B hallways. This is such a coin flip about who's going to be turning the corner at the right time. So I don't know if you can guess who's going to win this here. Oh, Poison. Actually, the armor could have definitely worked against him in that kind of a fight, but it's a one-on-one, and Config is right here, and he knows, and he's never going to miss that shot. So Complexity winning a very unlikely round, I feel like.
Yeah, big overperformance from JKS on the bomb site, but he was teaming up with that Org of Blame F, and you could see that Blame F was taking a lot of the attention away. So even if you only have the USP, if you're catching out unsuspecting players, just a quick dink and then a couple of shots to the body can be enough. That's what ends up happening for JKS, who gets a multi-kill with just the default pistol. And then from there, Config ends up closing out the round, and now the pressure starts to build on Anonymo. They really can't afford to lose this round with no money left behind.
Not after everything they built. They really made a legitimate, I won't say comeback, but they built the platform for making a real comeback, and that was hard work all on its own. So I feel like it'd be so shocking if they gave it away here. A little bit of an attempt. Config. Now, yeah, he didn't even realize there was already someone in the window, but the fact that he saw them and tried still meant that his team were going to be ready. Blamef is going to go down. Kyler decided to shoot him through the wall. That's pretty damn good. And JKS, a bit of an awkward fight. I think he had the advantage there against Innocent for a second, but then didn't really do much with it. Config trying to sneak in to take that fight, and he's going to take down Kyler. So now it's right back into a 3-on-3 with, I don't know, yeah, Minio sneaking deep in. Rush now. They're all catching each other. This is such a chaotic round. 1 versus 2.
Such a strange one. They didn't realize Rush was there because they themselves have already pushed through, but they're able to trade it well enough. They can get that bomb down onto the site. Poison decides to reposition after making that bit of noise. He's going to try and come in from short. Are they going to give him the angle, though? They might, but they've heard him. Fantastic flick from Poison, but he's got to pinpoint the position of the last player. Innocent is up in the apartments, holding a tight angle, and Poison tries to switch weapon, but it's so hard to know exactly where that last man is. Innocent locks it in, and Anonymo get that all-important round win.
Oh, I wish he would have made it past, because he actually did have a Molotov that, you know, the way that Innocent was set up could have been very interesting if he could have forced him out of that position. But, yeah, nice play from Innocent, catching him out there.
We got a config all.
Okay. Well, I don't even know what to make of it. It's going to be over at the B side. He's going to be boosted up, so he's there really quickly and catching Kyler, even though he himself, you could argue, was also getting caught at the same time. That is a wild move. But yeah, he didn't jump up. He actually got boosted by a teammate to get up there. So that's a nice little way of doing it. Oh.
Okay.
I don't know how he doesn't hit snacks there. Where does the bullet go?
I don't know. I hate that angle so much.
Yeah.
I just feel like you either seem to hit them through the wall or somehow it just always goes wrong.
It is weird, isn't it? All right. Still the Deagles are left. And Anonymo, I think to their credit, have slowed it down. They've just said, all right, wait a minute. And then we re-aggress into the bomb site. And that looks like a really good move. Key nearly going down, but still, there's no one else really here. They just have to save the orb on the other side. Poison could obviously stick around and try and land some nice headshots, but they're not going to win the round here. So Anonymo just beating them with patience in this round. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it is very common for rounds where there is just one AWP like this, for the AWPer to try and switch up his position when he's been spotted. So it's almost like that's a level from Anonymo where they're one step ahead. They're like, okay, you're probably going to try and stay active with the AWP. We'll just wait a bit. You'll probably leave B, and then they can come in. And even though Rush had the smoke, he wasn't able to make the most of that tight angle he created for himself. Just the one kill gives them the round.
Yeah, really well done, I think. And again, the slight luxury of having the MAC-10s able to entry like that, it definitely gives you a bit more confidence in jumping through the smoke and down to the floor of the B-bomb site. So we're back to 13-9 and in the 23rd round. Again, everyone is kind of stepping it up here in terms of the scoreboard. Like, there's no one really lacking desperately behind. I think that's encouraging. That's the sign of a good best of 3, in my opinion.
Definitely good to see. Now it's Poison's turn to try and have a hero round with the Config got a D to work with, but those shots at mid won't be successful. Anonymo, almost all of them are set up outside this A site right now, which might give Poison a chance to use that ore.
A little bit of a nade. Kyla didn't even turn around, and the flashbang, I mean, it's kind of surprising that Poison was able to even get that one kill, but that did look funny. Kyla was just running in, ignoring whoever was under there, and this round is going to be working out just fine for Anonymo, even if, I don't know, maybe that could have been a bit scary if JKS would have landed one of those deagle shots and taken down the MAC-10. That could have given enough space for Poison to get unflashed, but that's all theoretic at this point, I guess.
So close from Rush with the USP. A no kill able to come his way. Anonymo have had to fight through some adversity throughout this game. You know, it's felt like in a couple of moments they've been put into really difficult spots, positions where if they lose the round, they could even just lose the game from that position. But so far they've handled it. They've got themselves double digits. Now we'll see if they can weather the storm of the complexity buy, though. Rifles at the ready for the CTs.
And maybe now is the time to return to the conversation about whether or not they want to go aggressive anywhere. I still feel like we've been really robbed of that experience now. And, I mean, obviously these things cycle in and out of the metagame on a map like this. It's been played for such a long time, and I just still think it's worth doing. Config, he wanted to make the jump, but didn't quite do it. Now it's Poison fighting up in the middle, and he did a lot of damage, but not quite worth it. It's a 2-on-2 trade, and I think, I don't know if Anonymo, they might be a little bit upset, but I think given the fact the complexity have almost no nades left, this might still be fine for the T side.
Yeah, it will definitely spread the round out too. It will make it so complexity might start to have a tough time working together. And you also have to take into account complexity didn't have a kit at the start of this round. So if they do give up one of those bomb sites, the retake will be even more difficult. And because of that, JKS wants some information, playing aggressively on the ramp.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that is really important because if he's just playing far back, he might get the information when they show up, but might not be in time for anyone else to actually do anything with. But here, if he can win this fight against Kyla, that makes all the difference. He's done the damage, and he's going to be able to take him down. Blameth next in line with a kill, and it leaves Snacks in a 1 versus 3, and the grenade lands right on him. And he is in so much trouble. I mean, I have no idea how he'd try and win this. He has got the bomb at the very least, and yeah, wallbang shot would be so good right now, but he's not connecting with it, and time is also running out. So that position, JKS, I actually think is really, really important.
Okay, oh, the double swing is so good. Complexity coordinate it. As soon as they see Blame F is in trouble, he's in the molly, he has to swing. They're instantly ready to respond with the double peek. Snacks on that AWP. They knew he had the sniper from the earlier shots. Had no chance at getting both of those kills. Well played by Complexity. It's those small details that can make all the difference. It's secured them up to 14.
Yeah, that's a good look. It did cost them a little bit, so there's still, you know, a couple of FAMASas in play. Blameth's going to be running down there. And he smokes off the other side of the underpass, so theoretically, doesn't have to worry about that. A couple of nades. Don't really get to do that much. But again, very aggressive, very assertive in the middle. Somebody didn't get to see that much out of Anonymo. But Complexity are fighting for this, and they're winning that fight. Not just in the middle, but at the extremities too. What a beautiful and flawless round coming out here. Complexity at 15-10. Config stepping up big in this game with 20 kills, but JKS right behind with 19.
That round just seemed to come down to duels all across the map. They get kills on mid, they get kills on A. All good for Complexity. They'll take it. Anonymo weren't able to really have a chance to set up their round, to set up some sort of end goal. That means that they're down to just one AK, 15-10 down. At least they've got some nades to work with, but it's going to be a position where Anonymo have to dig deep to get back into this game.
Yeah, they need to win 5 in a row, and it's going to have to start with just an AK and some pistols. That is not easy. Kyla doing his best acrobatics to try and get through the hallways and get close to the bomb side. Maybe land a headshot on someone there. Minio. I mean, this is a cool idea. Flashbang is in, and man, they outplayed him. That was the perfect move to get rid of that. And now it's going to be falling apart here. He goes down innocent, the last one left alive. And Complexity looking so much better than yesterday. And they win the map 16-10. That is really, really cool. I'm glad to see it because we were pretty upset with the way that they were playing yesterday. But this is a much better, much improved look. Man, Anonymo Hawker, they're going to have to really step it up on that second map, which is their map pick, by the way.
Yeah, I think Complexity are showing us that they are going to be hopefully bouncing back here. Definitely positive signs from them. I think that the team play looked really, really solid here on Mirage, which is what we were hoping to see. And hopefully this will allow us to get the best possible game, because Anonymo themselves had that really competitive series yesterday.